And I've got Rebecca Bennett, founder of Jack and Alice Crafts with me,
Yeah.
talking to me today. Hi, Rebecca.
Hiya, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's really lovely to speak to you. And Rebecca, you do dry needle felting, crafting,
Yep,
and
I do indeed.
other crafts.
Yep.
So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Well, yep, as Emma said, I'm Rebecca, and I live in Marlow, and I set up Jack and Alice Crafts just after lockdown. It actually kind of started during lockdown. Well, just before lockdown, actually, I went on a needle felting workshop at Hobbycraft and absolutely loved it. And then obviously lockdown happened and all the rest of it, and I didn't really think about it. And then towards the end of lockdown, I remembered about it and got it out and started using it. Started making my own felted pieces, just little small things. And I was really blown away by how therapeutic it was and how I just absolutely loved it. So yeah, that's kind of the start.
For those that don't know about dry needle felting,
It is actually needle felting, I should
so
just
it's
say.
not dry needle felting.
No.
So I've heard of it as being called that, but is that something that I've just made up?
Well, it is dry rather than wet.
Yeah.
But it's known as needle felting, so
Okay.
you don't really necessarily need to say dry.
Okay, so it's just needle felting.
Yeah.
What does it involve? What is needle felting?
So needle felting is, so you can do, like I said, wet felting or dry, or needle felting. So basically, wet felting would be where you're using the wool and then you're applying water and soapy water and agitating it and then making your pictures with water and soap. Whereas what I do is needle felting. So you lay out wool fibers and to create your pieces, your pictures. They can be 3D or 2D. And then you simply just use a needle, a special needle felting needle, to then agitate them. And you keep on kind of agitating them. And then it binds the fibers together and it felts it. So rather than using the water to agitate it and move it, the fibers felt together due to the needle.
So so what do you use then? So when you've got your fibers, so it's wool, and you're using it on, what do you do it on?
So you can needle felt onto anything that the needle will go through. So I mainly use something called pre-felt, which is basically like it look like felt, like a sheet of felt that you could buy in Hobbycraft or anywhere. So I use a piece of felt, and then you needle felt onto it, and you can but you can do it on cotton, on sheets, denim, jumpers, bags, anything that the needle will go through, basically. And then you can also make 3D ones where you might have seen like birds, animals, masks. I do quite a lot of brooches and making some pumpkins for Halloween. So you can really manipulate it and use it in various different ways.
Oh wow! So you can do lots of different arts and crafts.
You can, yes,
yeah. So brooches and decorations.
Yeah. So I'm branching out into the 3D ones. But you might have seen like massive animals and animal heads and that kind of thing. So it's exactly the same process. It's just you work in a different way.
Yeah. And is this something that anyone can do? Do you need any kind of experience?
No, I did a workshop yesterday and I had a 9-year-old do it. And then I've had people that are like in their 70s do it. So it's a real mixed bag. It's achievable for everybody. And I obviously, my main focus is I teach my workshops. So within my workshops, I have it's achievable for all. Whether I have a lot of people now that are coming back for follow-up sessions, and I'm also branching out and doing more advanced felting workshops. So, which is quite a lot. Like I said, quite a lot of people that came like last year or a couple of months ago are coming back to then create a second one or sewing into it, adding into it. So it's achievable for everybody, and majority of people, like yesterday I had a workshop for 12 people and no one had done it before. So whereas I might have some people that, like I said, are reoccurring customers. So it's a real mixed bag.
And is it nice when you've got a group that have never done it before?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting because everyone's really nervous at the beginning and very hesitant. And what I love the most is how they get the wool out and you have the wool, and then at the end they've created something that they're very, very proud of. Yeah. And I just love it. It happens every single time. that people almost can't believe what they've made. And because in the workshop it comes with a frame, you go home with a finished piece as well, which I think everyone feels very proud of.
Yeah.
And the general feedback I get is that the frame really makes it, because it, like I said, they're proud of it. They've made it. So.
And how long does it take? So how long are your workshops?
They tend to be about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And then I do my all day workshops, which would be like from 10 till 4. And that's where you work. So the all day ones, you work in, you do a bit of painting at the beginning, because felting is known as painting with wool. So we do some painted samples, and we practice blending colours and practice sewing, because you can add embellishments onto your pieces. So the all day ones are more detailed, but still a lot of people have never done it before, because you get taught the skills at the start of the day, and then create your pieces.
Yeah.
So a real kind of just different.
That's really different.
Yeah.
And if somebody's never done it before, that is still, nobody's ever gone home with an unfinished piece.
No. There's always and a lot of people as well come with their own photos, and then I'll kind of help guide them whether it's too hard or not achievable in the time. Or a lot of the time as well, as people end up combining things together, so they might use their own photograph but the colours of one of my pieces. And what I'd say to everybody is that your picture you start with is just your starting point, and it will naturally develop. Just because of the colours that don't match it, or you prefer the colour that I've got rather than the photo. But what I think's so unique about my workshops is that all the pictures people use are personal to them. So it has a very, like I said, a lot of time I say, this is a photo of when we went on family holidays, and that kind of thing, which is why that's what a lot of mine are based on as well. So I think that's what makes it just so personal and so unique and individualized as well, which is really nice.
So they're creating a memory. So they've got a memory and they're creating it.
Exactly.
And then they're taking it home.
Yeah, it's really nice.
That's really lovely.
Really
lovely. So you do lots of different groups. Do you do it as events as well? Do you do anything special like corporate events? Or parties?
So I do. So this is my 3rd year of doing them now, and I do a mix. I do some at home. It depends on my numbers. So if I've just got a couple of people, I do them at home in Marlow. But if I have 10 people, then I hire out spaces. So my main one is that I use Costa in Marlow, and the space upstairs, which is brilliant. Just a great place, great company to have me there. So that's really good. And then I also do a lot of what's called fizz and felt, which you actually, do you remember? You were actually the one. I should give you credit for that, actually, because thanks to Emma, one of the first workshops that I did, you said, how about doing a fizz and felt? So tell me more. What could this be? And then
so I came along to one of your felting workshops.
Right at the beginning.
It must be 3 years ago then. That seems like
weird.
A very long time ago, but it doesn't seem like a long time ago. So I'd never done it before. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
And as you say,
we were throwing ideas around, weren't we?
ideas. But I bought a picture of we go to Cornwall every year.
Yeah.
And we did a seascape, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I had a picture of the sunset at Portsmouth Beach, and I used that. So I still have that.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's on my shelf, and it's really lovely because it is a memory of our family.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a place dear to our heart. But we did throw some ideas around afterwards, and I said, what about Prosecco evenings, or and you came up with the name Fizz and Felt, which is perfect.
And then now that's one of my most popular events, actually. I've done hen parties, birthday parties, children's birthday parties, and now as well I'm also collaborating with a lady who does painting, Tony, her name is, from Easily Paint, I think it's called. Anyway, she's teaching painting in the morning, and then we create a felted piece based on what they've painted. So that's very exciting. We've done one group so far. We've got monthly ones now coming up as well. So that's really new as well, to be collaborating and skill sharing and that kind of thing, really.
So how many people do you get in a group? Generally?
So my biggest one has been 20. That was in a monthly meetup like a textiles group. So that was good. That was great. And then I did a home ed group for 26 children. But because my background's teaching, an art teacher, it was great. It was good. I just planned beforehand and thought, gave it a lot of detail about how I was going to support and how I was going to stretch people, yet at the same time help. And it worked really well. It was good.
And that's good because you home ed as well, don't you?
I do now.
So Jack and Alice Crafts is named after
my
children.
And I call my Jack and Alice Crafts is my third baby. So it's my lockdown baby. It was born in lockdown. So yes, it is named after them. And like I mentioned, it was I sort of dabbled with needle felting when I was during lockdown. And one of the, it was actually during lockdown, I was doing, I was using my sewing machine, and I was actually creating seascapes using my sewing machine. And the noise was just hypnotic. I don't know anyone, that knows the sewing machine noise. I was just completely transported, and I was loving it. But it always makes me laugh because really one of the reasons why I really pushed the felting was because Jack and Alice during lockdown were 1 and 2.5 years old, and I was in my spare room with my sewing machine. And I was thinking, I'm just, look at me doing this, and the children are next door. And then it went really quiet, and I thought, oh. And I went in, and they had found the flour in the drawer, and the whole kitchen was like full of flour, and they were having well of a time. So I thought, right, if I'm going to be developing my arts and pushing this, I need to really have a craft that I can do when I can see them.
Yes.
So then I realized that felting, because you work on a foam pad, I could then be in the sitting room, I could be in the kitchen, I could be wherever they were. So that's really one of the reasons why it then really pushed that. I still do my sewing ones, but the felting, and that's why as well why it works, because I can transport it. I can go to people's houses, I can go to different venues really easily.
You don't have to take your sewing machine with
no
you.
Exactly, it's all kind of, it's very compact, and it's done, and then can do it. But yes, I now also, like you mentioned, I also now homeschool them or home ed them, the children. So which is now brilliant because it's allowing. I mean, it wasn't the plan at all. Jack started school and then couldn't cope with it, and then we got an autism diagnosis, and which made it so obvious as to why he couldn't cope with school. So he managed 6 months of reception, but we were thrown into this world of home ed. Being a teacher, I'd never knew anything about home ed. Like, you go to school, so why would you suddenly be? So literally I started, and but it was 100% the right decision, so that's what I knew was right. So anyway, we got into a great routine with that, but and now I just do it for Alice as well. But now, as a result, I'm branching out, and I've done some home ed groups, teaching it. Jack goes to a woodland group every week, and I've done it there, which was great fun.
Well.
Yeah, that was really lovely.
Nice.
So it's just opened up a whole new kind of door, and I just feel very proud as well that I'm the children are seeing me developing my workshops, and that I'm working, and I've got something for myself. Jack's often with me on the workshops. When I do them at home, he's there, but it just works.
Does he do it as well?
He does. He helps a little bit. Yes, he can do it.
I suppose he wouldn't want to do it every single time.
No, he does it. It's not really his thing. He's more kind of construction and that kind of thing. But children can do it. Alice, she's 6, and she very much enjoys it. So children can do it. And the home ed workshop that I did last year, there were 6-year-olds in it. You just need an adult with them because of the needle.
Because you've got a needle, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, like I say, on all my workshops, it's no different to using a pair of scissors. You've just got to be careful, and just be mindful. And we clean the needles beforehand. Every workshop, I've got anti-bac wipes, so it makes them sterile. But it's not dangerous. It's just because it's children. You just obviously got to be, they're under 18, so you've got to, your parents need to be there just to supervise. But equally, yesterday there was a 9-year-old with her mum, and produced a beautiful piece.
That's quite nice. You can do it together, can't you?
Yes. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people are doing is like, family get together. And the birthday parties have been great. They've like a 70th birthday party. That was really lovely. but yeah, just lots.
So that's nice, because it is like self-care as well, isn't it? Because you're, as you say, it's therapeutic.
It is, and I think, like yesterday, I did a workshop for 12 people that were, it was a very new group that had been set up, and it was specifically for people that are going through grief. And I saw it advertised on Facebook, and I messaged them and said, look, I know how therapeutic these workshops are, and I think any craft is. Art and craft is, like you said, any self-care is so important, but because it's craft, art and craft, but also because you're using a needle, which sounds really strange, it's the using the needle and doing it is incredibly relaxing. The noise, just the motion of using the needle, and it almost like transports you. And what was so lovely yesterday was we were all chatting. It was like we were old friends, and no one knew. It was a complete stranger. It was the second meetup they'd done for this new kind of meetup, and it was just lovely, and it felt warm, it felt caring, and it was just really lovely. And then everyone, like I said, produced then everyone framed it at the end. It was an option to frame it, and everyone framed it, and it just felt really, really lovely. And I think I went home feeling very proud of myself, actually, because one of the main inspirations behind setting up the my business was because my mum passed away when I was 18, and I always really remember her saying to me back then I remember saying to me, follow your dreams. And I was really, like, at school, I really struggled with academically. I'm dyslexic, and I really struggled, but I could always really do art. And I was good at art, and I think my mum was probably, I assume she was just very relieved that there was something that I could do,
Yeah.
And I just always remember saying that, and it always really comes to my mind when I'm, and like yesterday, where it just, and that's the driving force, and yeah, so it's great. It's taken me a while to find my market, so to speak, and what I'm doing, but the relaxation, the therapeutic, the self-care, the bringing people together, and that's why the community, we're doing them at Costa, doing them at Home Ed, doing them the collaborations. It's great. Marlowe's, where I live, is such a small town that people know each other. People want to help as well. And a lot of the time at workshop, people will say, "Oh, well, I know my friend would like to do this, and she's there," or "Have you thought about doing them here?" And, "Oh no, okay." And suddenly I'm onto a whole new.
It's amazing, actually, because, as you say, you started it 3 years ago, and it seems to have naturally got quite big. But it's naturally done that. It's taken all these different paths, and maybe not what you've really realised, but it was almost like your destiny to do this.
I know completely. And like I said, when I stopped teaching in it was December 2020, because I returned, because I've always been a teacher. So when I stopped teaching, I was like, well, I only know how to be a teacher. Because about 15 years I was a teacher, secondary school art teacher. I was head department, worked in America. I always was striving for something else, to better myself and better my career. Very passionate about it. And so when I stopped, I was like, I literally, I structured my day like a teacher. It was unbelievable. I'd literally have break at 10 o'clock and lunch at 12:30, and and then and it took me a while to get out of that mindset. And then I wanted to return to work when Jack started school, but then knew I didn't want to go into the classroom. So my husband's actually said, "Well, why don't you think about teaching adults?" And I said, "No, I only know how to teach teenagers." You get so sort of into that kind of mindset, don't you?
Yeah.
And I thought, "Oh, I could do, I suppose, And then and then I just put a couple of posts out on Facebook, and the interest, and it just has grown. It's little bit by bit. It's like my dad says to me, Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to, it's just little bits, which now works really well with the homeschooling, because I, again, I can do bits here, bits there, and
work around.
Work around. I don't really know how I managed to do it all, to be honest with you, but I think it's because I'm passionate about both.
I think that's the thing, and that is what drives you, and just believing in it and enjoying it.
Yeah,
and I think that's something amazing about doing something that you enjoy.
Well, we play with my daughter. We often play that game, Would You Rather? Do you know that? Do you know
that
one?
Yeah.
And she says, and I love bluebells. and I love the sea, and I love felting. And she said, oh, Mummy, would you rather do felting all day or go on a bluebell walk? And I said, like, I can't choose. I can never. It just makes me laugh, because that shows to them that they can see how much I love it.
Yeah. But you could actually do both.
Yes, I could. I said
that.
I said, could I sit in the bluebell wood and felt?
And felt the bluebells on
exactly.
As well.
But I think, and that's, that's, like I said, showing them how important, just showing me happy and stuff. So yeah, I think
that's a huge knock-on effect to them
exactly.
as well, because they'll be happy.
Exactly. And then, like I said, when I think back to when I, like in 2020, when I stopped teaching, and it was just after lockdown, and I was on maternity leave during lockdown, and then when I returned in September, Jack and Alice were 1 and 2.5, and my husband was actually very unwell because he's got long COVID, and it was particularly bad back in 2020, like completely bedridden, and we didn't know what was wrong with him, which added to the whole dimension of a very stressful time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think my point being is that when I think back to that time, and sometimes I kind of almost like it feels like a different. I just think how different I was then.
Yeah.
And then and my nerves of stopping teaching, and is it the right thing, and it just made me realize that if you're in a job that because I see a lot of people post things online, on some of the forums, like I want to leave my job. It's a teaching one, so it's about teaching, and teaching's brilliant. Teaching in schools is brilliant, but
it's the stress, isn't it?
And they're like, oh, I don't know whether I should, and I kind of think like the unknown is scary. And it's always going to be scary. But if you're, if it's causing you that much upset, then just, there's always options. There's always options to change things and move things forward. And it might not seem obvious, but just making little few small changes, can help. And I still got a long way to go. It's really still very much the early stages of what I'm doing. I'm still learning. You're always learning.
But that's good as well, because you want to be learning. You don't want to just stop.
Yeah.
And who knows what there is more to come. So you're doing lots of collaborations, and that could be. So you've done collaborations with painting.
Yeah. So I'm doing the painting one, and then I do workshops at other venues, like in Knoll Hill. I go to Micklam's Farm, and Farnham Maltings. And then Northern Farm as well, I'm booked into.
So Northern Farm is in Maidenhead, and Knoll Hill is
towards Reading.
Towards Reading in Berkshire.
And then Farnham Maltings is in Farnham, Hampshire. So the main, all my workshops, I advertise mainly on social media, so on Facebook and Instagram. And then I'm just in the process of making my website, which is very exciting, because I finally got to the stage now where a website is needed, which is massive. So shout out to Creative Duck, because they're helping me do that.
Oh, brilliant. The Creative Duck in Henley.
So we're in the sort of the final stages of getting that ready, so I can have everything just in one place, which is very exciting indeed. But otherwise, like I said, I just advertise them all on there.
So it's Jack and Alice Crafts.
Yep. And I'm also doing Bucks Arts Trail, which is very exciting. So I'm not sure if so that's where you basically, it's in Buckinghamshire, and you if you just go and just search Bucks Arts Trail, it's really big, it's really well known. That you basically have a map, and you go to different people's houses or studios, where people then show what they do. And at mine, I'm basically going to be doing, people can try a little bit of felting. It just gives you a nice taster. I want to create what the workshop environment is like for people, so you can just drop in, have a little look, stay as long as you want, have a little play of felting something. It's meant to be nice and sunny, so I'm going to be having it on my decking, and just I just want to show people what it's all about, and what it is. So if you that's I think it's the 10th to the 14th of June at mine in Marlow.
So, and that's every year. So
every year that is.
So if somebody's listening to this and June has passed, you may be doing it the following June. If you're local.
Yes, definitely. Or just so that's very exciting.
And that's nice because it's not like somebody's just going and having a look at artwork. They can have a go
exactly.
as well.
And I just want to share the love of my felting, really.
And would they be able to? They may not have time to spend 2 hours doing it, but they can have a quick.
No, it's not. I'm going to do. I think we're going to make little brooches, but or even just having a little go of. You could just sit. You just have a little play for like 10 minutes. It's. I'll just. It's flexible. It's just to give people a taster of what it is, and
then book in with you if they want
exactly.
to do a full session to try before you buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Really good.
Not very often you have that opportunity. So
I mean, the one thing that you talked about was community. I was going to suggest, like, would you do this as an online thing? If somebody wanted to do it, say they were not local to Buckinghamshire or that, you know, even if they're in another country.
Definitely.
But would it work? Because you're saying about, obviously depending on the group, because you had a bereavement group and that would be nice in person.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Would that take away that community feel? Or would
good point. Because funnily enough, someone actually in Canada emailed me, which was rather exciting.
Oh.
I know, saying all of these online, and I sort of so at the moment, no, it's not online, but I did a Zoom presentation a few weeks ago to about 15 people, where it was like a Skillshare, and I presented it and then demonstrated. So the idea is moving forward is that I'm looking at doing where I have someone filming me make them, and then I have online. So you could almost, probably at the moment it would be like having online like a tutorial, a little bit like a YouTube, and people could then have the kit or buy the kit from me and then follow the instructions to make it. Otherwise, I think that doing the like Skillshare is really good, because you're right, it is, the whole point of it is it's this real personal quality to it. So at the moment, that's what's important. Whereas doing like, but then I equally could teach them over Zoom or that kind of thing. So I think I'm very much at the trialing stage. So if somebody wanted to do it, then I would do it, even just to try it, almost just for free to start off with, to get a couple going.
But they would have to purchase their own.
So my point being is that I'm at that stage where I so want to develop it and push it and get a feel for what people want. That, like the one I did yesterday, I just asked for a donation, you know, because it was a very new group. It was their second session. There's no budget, so I said, well, look, let's just do that. So again, if someone's listening to this and thinks, oh, I can't get to you, I don't live in Marlow, but I'd love to try it. Just send me a message with the details beyond the podcast.
Absolutely,
I guess. Just reach out and
or a DM on Instagram or a Facebook message.
Yeah, because I'm more than happy to try it online and just see how, see where it takes.
If the demand is there and it works,
exactly,
then that's another possibility. So you can broaden it.
Yeah, and I think that because of my teaching background and my confidence with that, and then my confidence with the teaching, I don't feel worried like, oh, I wouldn't be able to do that, because it just comes naturally. And the teaching. So
and it is quite a nice thing, because once you've explained how to do something, people just sort of get on with it.
They do, yeah, exactly. And in my workshops, what I like to do is I like to sit at the table, because otherwise I annoy myself, because I'm hovering around and sort of, whereas actually I sit there and I felt, and I do it with people, and then I stop and then I come round and I walk around, check what people are doing.
And you're there to ask questions as well.
So it kind of, like, I'm part of it as well, and I help, so it's, it just works really nicely. It's a really nice feel. I mean, you've done a couple now, haven't you?
Yes, because the other one that I did was at Costa in Marlow, which is really lovely, because it's a really old building.
Isn't it? It's really special.
You go upstairs and they had all the fairy lights and everything.
Yeah.
And we did Christmas baubles.
We did indeed.
So I did a little Christmas pudding.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that I'm doing is getting themes, like doing themes. So I've just finished making some pumpkins, 3D pumpkins, and then the robins. And then so I'm really, and again, I think 6 months ago I was just doing the seascapes and the bluebells, whereas now because there's a bit more demand and people are booking as well, like people are booking for October, November, I'm starting now to think about themes, which again is very exciting, because that's new, that wasn't you know. And I always, as well, what you have to do with this kind of craft is you've got to think 6 months ahead. So what was happening was it would suddenly be December, and I'd be like, oh, I haven't done the robins, and then you'd almost miss the window. So you've got to really like get it, and that's new. That's the first time that's happened this year, which is very exciting. But
good.
I'm
already
actually, I'm kind of
booking up 6 months ahead.
Yes, it did feel a bit strange making pumpkins. It was a bank holiday weekend, and I was busy making pumpkins.
Yes,
which felt a bit weird. I was like, this is normally it's seascapes, but again,
I suppose that's it's events, isn't it? So when you work in events, you're always planning ahead.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This is a new thing for you, where you've got the teaching side, but also you've got the we've got to plan as an event.
Yeah, exactly. So it's lots. Someone said to me, write a 6-month plan and date your piece of paper. And that was really good advice, because then you can look back at it and think, oh, especially when one's so busy and with the children and doing all that, it's very easy to just push things to the side and think I'll do it later, and then later never comes. So it's just making sure that you have that time and have a target, have a focus,
have your goals,
have a why, have a need, have a want to do it. So
that's amazing. That's a really lovely way to end, actually. Thank you so much for speaking to me today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.